Happy Friday to my people. Welcome to Stoniecast number 90 and season 3, episode 23 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. It's your boy Stony back for the 90th time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow cheats, lowlifes, hoodlums, hustlers, scumbags, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics with abusive language, fienders, degenerates, and Italians. I mean, let's face it, if you're Italian, you check those boxes. If you're new to the show, hey, you probably fit into one or more, most of those categories. So welcome. And make sure to hit the subscribe button down here, right down here in the lower right-hand corner, so you can be notified every time I put out a new video. It's usually around this time on Friday night, unless I tell you otherwise. To spread the word is very easy. Just tell other hoodlums to go to YouTube and enter hashtag STONIE'S winners. All one word. That's not STONEY, but it's STONIES winners. That'll take you directly to my page. Spring is coming, people. So for those of you like me that live in a cold weather area, don't fret. You know how I know? The PGA is at Torrey Pines this week and will be at Pebble next week. By next month, we'll have the Final Four, baseball's opening day, and the Masters, which totally signifies the beginning of spring. Before we get down to the get down, I got a couple thoughts for you. I'm going to shock the world and begin with the NBA. Yeah, I know. Tell a friend. Stoney's lost his mind. He's talking NBA. I don't want to be the get off my lawn old guy who talks about the good old days, but just hear me out. Now, for years, those of you that know me know that I do not watch or wager on the NBA. And aside from the stars, I don't know who goes where once they leave college. Now, if I'm forced to watch a game, I'll tell you exactly where they all played, but I don't follow it enough to tell you right off the bat. Here's what I know. Charles Barkley is the fucking man, excuse my language, and still sharp as hell. When he speaks, it makes headlines. And if you disagree with him, you simply say Chuck's lost his mind. Last week, he ripped the NBA players and said the owners should hold them accountable during the next collective bargaining agreement for the players' use of, quote, load management. Those two words, I swear to God, they just don't sit well with me. Now, I don't know when this started or who was responsible, but I was spoiled growing up because I got to see the original Dream Team in their primes playing every night at an incredibly high level. Could you imagine, just for a second, think about this. In 1991, Rudy Tomjanovich telling Hakeem Olajuwon to take the night off for load management. Or Phil Jackson telling it to Jordan. Or Sloan telling it to Malone. Or Casey Jones telling Larry Bird, or on and on and on. These guys, a lot of them, are remembered for playing hurt. Remember Larry's back, McHale's ankles, Ewing's knees, or the mother of them all, Jordan's flu. Yeah, we all remember those. Nowadays, a family of four spends $1,500 to go to the Chase Center only to find out Curry, Thompson, and Green all have the night off for load freaking management. It's pathetic. My next point is also on the NBA. And the fact that since Dream Team won, and that was 31 years ago, the best point guards in the NBA, aside from Stephen Curry, have all been from Oakland. From Gary Payton, the glove, to J. Kidd, to Dame Time. These three have shown that a small city of only 400,000 people can consistently produce studs running the point. I say this now because Damian Lillard went for 60 the other night. How do I know this? It was on SportsCenter. I certainly wasn't watching. But nowadays, for all the talk about Kyrie, Westbrook, Chris Paul, who I think is probably the most overrated player in NBA history, it's Dame that is better than all of them, not named Steph. But if you really think about it, there's not another point in the NBA that is even close to Steph. And Dame is very close. He hasn't left to seek a title like Kyrie, Westbrook, and Paul have all done. Instead, he's been stuck in the Pacific Northwest playing for usually bad teams in Portland, but has consistently been great, and he ain't slowing down. Finally, my last thought is on college basketball, and it's a melancholy one, and it's rest in peace to Billy Packer, the true voice of the NCAA Final Four. Packer called 34 of them from 1975 to 2008, dating from John Wooden all the way to 2008. Yeah, names like Enberg, McGuire, Nance, Kellogg, and Send It in Jerome Raftery have all been great, but the Final Four wouldn't be what it is today, and I've referred to it as the best sporting event in the world without Packer. His combination with Al McGuire was a true blessing for those of us that remember them together on NBC back in the 80s. You'll be sorely missed, Mr. Packer, and you will always be remembered fondly. Now, as for our picks last week, we turned in another winning week. That's not news anymore, but it had its moments. Going 2-2 in the NFL divisional sides, but 3-1 in totals was nice, especially considering all 4 games last weekend went under, and you all know how I love my unders. 5-3 in the NFL led the way to a college hoops Saturday that was a true definition of peaks and valleys. At about 8 Eastern last Saturday, after UNLV took out Fresno State, I was 14-5 on the day and taking victory laps. But then a cold dose of reality hit as I stumbled to a 2-8 finish, losing both my lock of the week and my degenerate special to finish 16-13. All I can do now is look back at what was and what could have been. Still a winning week, though. That put us over 500 winners since episode 1 this season. And right now we're at episode 23. Here are the numbers. Last week, NCAA basketball 16-13. That puts us 182 wins, 112 losses, and 5 pushes on the season. Good for 61.9%. As good as anyone is ever going to do. NFL playoffs last week, 5-3. That puts us to 11-9 in the playoffs, 55%. That's kind of where we were all season long in the NFL regular season. So no surprise there. So last week we ended up 21-16, 56.76%. Not our greatest, but still a winning week. Overall, every single pick I've given you this season, 507 wins, 350 losses, 10 pushes. 59.16%. You're welcome. Since there are only 3 games in the NFL season left, and both conference championship games are on Sunday, let's start tomorrow with the college hoops bonanza that is impossible to ignore now because for the first time since August, there's no football being played on a Saturday. Here we go with all the times being in the Eastern time zone. Y'all ready? Okay. Get your pencils out. At noon, I'll start the day with Temple, +7 at Central Florida. At noon, I like Minnesota, +12.5 at Northwestern. At noon, I'll take Notre Dame at home, laying 10 versus Louisville, who's an absolute train wreck this season. I like Boston College as a spoiler this year in the ACC, but at noon tomorrow, I'm going to roll with Virginia in Charlottesville, laying the big number at 15.5 over BC. Also at noon, I'm going to roll with West Virginia at home in Morgantown, -3.5 versus struggling Auburn. At noon, I like Xavier and the Fighting Sean Millers, +5 at a good Creighton squad. At 1 Eastern, take NC State, +2.5 at Wake Forest. At 2 Eastern, I'm going to roll with Fordham, -3 at home versus George Washington in my lock of the week. Once again, lock of the week. Fordham, -3.5 at home versus GW at 2 Eastern. 2 p.m., give me Texas Tech, -2.5 at LSU in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. 2 p.m. also in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. I'm going to roll with Missouri at home, plus 1.5 versus Iowa State in what should be a good one. 2 p.m., let's keep rolling with the Big 12 SEC Challenge and take Alabama, -6 at Oklahoma. 2:15 p.m., I'm on Cincinnati, plus 14 at Houston. I love me some Cougar hoops, but this is too many to lay to a good, scrappy Bearcat squad. 3 p.m., give me Illinois, -1 at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's just, they're not the same. They're not tough anymore. Big 12 SEC Challenge at 4 p.m. I'm on Baylor, -6 at home versus Arkansas. Charleston is the hottest team in the nation, so I'll take them at home at 4 p.m., -7 versus Hofstra. Florida Atlantic is just as hot as Charleston, but at 4 p.m., I'm going to take Western Kentucky, plus 12.5 at FAU. FAU gets the win, but not the cover. 4 p.m., Big 12 SEC Challenge. I'm on Mississippi State at home in Starkville, +2 versus TCU. 4 p.m., give me Stony Brook, -1 at Hampton because they're the Seawolves. I mean, come on. They named their school after me. 5 p.m., I'm going to keep rolling with Santa Clara, -12 versus Pacific. 5:30 p.m., I like Washington, +9 at home to keep things close versus Arizona. 6 p.m., Big 12 SEC Challenge. I'm on Kansas State at home in the Little Apple, -5 versus Florida. Also at 6 p.m. in the Big 12 SEC, I got to roll with Tennessee, -7.5 at Thompson Bowling in Knoxville versus Texas in the Battle of the UTs. 6 p.m., give me Virginia Commonwealth at home and lay the lumber of 11.5 versus St. Bonaventure. 7 p.m., I'm on Utah State, -4 at Fresno State. 7 p.m., I like Syracuse, +7 at Virginia Tech. 8 p.m., the game of the day between the bluest of all the blue bloods in the Big 12 SEC Challenge at Rupp Arena. Give me Kansas, +3 at Kentucky. 8 p.m., I'm on Oregon at home at the night, -3 versus Utah. At 10 Eastern, I like BYU, +6 at home in Provo versus St. Mary's. Also at 10 in the Battle of the Silver State. This one's in Las Vegas. Give me UNLV in a pick'em versus Nevada Reno. 10 p.m., I'm on San Francisco, -3 at San Diego. 10 p.m., I'm going to roll with Stanford, -11 on the farm versus Cal. At 11 p.m., I'm on Pepperdine, +11 at Loyola Marymount. And finally, this week's Degenerate Special is at midnight Eastern at the Sheriff Center in Stony Lulu. I like Hawaii laying the big number of 15 versus Cal State Bakersfield. How about 33 college hoops plays? What do you think? Yeah, going to go big this week. Now let's move on to Sunday and the NFL championship games. And we'll start in Stonydelphia at 3 Eastern as the currently 15-3 Eagles are a 2.5-point favorite over the 15-4 49ers with the total set at 46.5. Philly cruised past the Giants last week while the Niners beat Dallas to set up this matchup of the two best teams in the NFC all season. The two best defenses, the two best pass rushes, the teams with the two best rosters. Yep, the East Coast media bias is obvious, as everyone and their mother this week likes Philly based on Brock Purdy's lack of experience. But they don't talk about how this is also the biggest game of Jalen Hurts' career. In a matchup of the two youngest quarterbacks to ever start in a conference championship game, combined age of 47, the 49ers have a clear edge in the run game until you throw in Hurts. He evens things up. But Philly can be beaten by running on them where nobody runs on San Francisco. Bosa, Armstead, Warner, Greenlaw, Al-Shair, the Wards, Hufanga. The list of stars on the defensive side of the ball for the Niners is ridiculous. Philly can be ran on and can be dinked and dunked to death. Remember Micah Parsons? Of course you know, because he disappeared last week thanks to Trent Williams. Philly can beat the Niners by throwing over the top and downfield. But in order for that to happen, Hurts is going to need time, which he won't have, forcing him to scramble for his life. Plus, all week long, I've heard how Brock Purdy hasn't beaten anyone yet. But there's no mention of the Eagles having the easiest schedule in the NFL. Who've they beaten? Dallas? Please. Philly needs to get out ahead of this one, and they can't play from behind. Pure and simple. For SF, as long as they're within a touchdown at halftime, they'll wear down the Eagles' defense in the second half by running it down their throats. Yeah, I've seen enough to know the Niners win this one, and while it probably will be close, I like SF to take this one 24-20. So that's the 49ers and the under. Also, money line alert. Give me SF on the money line at plus 130. The AFC Championship goes a half hour after the end of the NFC game at Arrowhead Stadium is once again the site of a rematch between last year's participants, the 15-3 Chiefs and the 14-4 Bengals. KC is a 1.5-point favorite and the total's 48. The Chiefs beat the Jags last week and once again failed to cover, but the news was Patrick Mahomes' ankle. When the line was posted at KC -1, the Sharps pounced and took Cincinnati to push the line as high as Cincinnati -2. But now, after a few days of video of Mahomes at practice getting around pretty damn good, the line moved back to where it started. The story of Joe Burrow and his 3-0 career head-to-head record versus Mahomes has been beaten to death, but there's some validity to it. Cincy's weakness was their offensive line, and that's what forced me to futilely take Buffalo last week. The Bengals' patchwork line delivered and dominated. Now it's their second straight game in the snow. KC's weakness is twofold: their running game, or lack thereof, and their defense. As good as Mahomes and Kelsey are, and Mahomes could easily throw for 304, will that be enough? I'm all over Cincinnati here because I think Burrow is on such a roll right now, and he has the weapons, including Jamar Chase, the ultimate weapon this game. That is a matchup nightmare for the Chiefs, pure and simple. Who's going to guard Chase? Nobody can, right? Bengals win their second straight AFC championship and advance to the Super Bowl against the 49ers for the third time with a convincing 27-17 win. Yep, 2 dogs and 2 unders on Championship Sunday for that ass. What do you think? Actually, I don't care what you think. That's what I think. 33 college hoops matchups and 4 in the NFL with both moneyline dogs gives us 37 for the week, very similar to last week. Again, 21 wins are just fine, but in order to make those bankrolls fatter, we got to go big, hit them early, and hit them hard. So just remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. You can't go broke taking a profit. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you. Rest in peace, Billy Packer. 1 in a million.